Technological unemployment, which signifies job loss due to advancements in technology, is a main form of structural unemployment. It often arises from the deployment of machines that replace physical labor or the implementation of more efficient automated processes, thus marginalizing the human role. Throughout history, such shifts have impacted various professions, much like how automobiles and tractors displaced horses. Historical instances include the destitution of artisan weavers after mechanized looms appeared. In World War II, the bomb machine by Alan Turing was able to interpret years' worth of encrypted data in mere hours. Modern scenarios include retail cashiers being replaced by self-service checkouts or automated stores. There's a general consensus that technological advancements can result in short-term job losses. However, the notion that they can contribute to consistent unemployment spikes has been topic of debate. Two camps exist in this discussion: optimists and pessimists. Optimists acknowledge the temporary disruption that innovation might cause in the job market, yet believe in compensatory effects which prevent long-term job loss. Pessimists, on the other hand, argue that certain circumstances can lead to a permanent reduction in employment due to new technologies. British economist John Maynard Keynes used the term technological unemployment in the 1930s, describing it as only a temporary phase of maladjustment. However, discussions surrounding machines replacing human labor have been prevalent since ancient times, dating back to Aristotle's era. Prior to the 18th century, both elite and common people tended to endorse the pessimistic view on technological unemployment, although it was rarely a significant concern due to low unemployment rates in pre-industrial times. But the 18th century brought an increase in mass unemployment, fueling fear over machinery's impact on jobs, especially in Great Britain, the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. However, some economists started arguing against these concerns, suggesting that innovation, on the whole, would not adversely affect employment. This sentiment was formally established by classical economists in the early 19th century. By the latter half of the century, it was evident that technological progress benefited all social classes, which reduced concerns over the negative consequences of innovation. Thus, the term Luddite fallacy was coined to describe the belief that innovation would lead to lasting harm to employment. In recent years, numerous studies have highlighted the potential for technology to perpetually increase global unemployment. Oxford scholars Carl Benedict Frey and Michael Osborne, for instance, stated that around 47% of American jobs might be under threat due to automation advancement. Despite criticisms over their methodology and the suggestion that technological advancement is the primary cause of unemployment, the authors substantiated their findings on PIB's news showers, arguing that they don't necessarily indicate a trajectory towards technological unemployment despite dissensions. The fear of technological unemployment, largely dismissed for the past 2 centuries, is steadily gaining momentum. A 2017 article by Wired magazine cited opinions from prominent figures like economist Gene Sperling and Professor Andrew McAfee, who averred managing job loss to automation to be an essential issue. Recent technological advancements could also displace human labor in a variety of professional fields, while the World Bank's World Development Report 2019 maintains that these displacements are counteracted by the creation of new industries and jobs due to technological innovation. Historical accounts suggest the prevalence of technological unemployment dating back to the invention of the wheel, with ancient societies employing various means to help the impoverished. Methods of assistance varied across civilizations, from centrally run relief programs in ancient China and Egypt to decentralized responses of support encouraged by ancient Hebrew and Vedic faiths. Both ancient Greece and Rome encountered issues of technological unemployment, implementing public work programs and handouts to alleviate poverty and create jobs, despite the criticisms. Notably, the earliest discussion on technological unemployment emerged from Aristotle and his Politics, where he speculated on the concept of machines replacing human labor. Despite occasional prohibitions on labor-saving technology, technological advancements became inevitable and an integral part of evolution in societies. In the period spanning the Middle Ages and early Renaissance, considerable advances were made in technology, some stemming from European innovation while others originating from Eastern nations like China, India, Arabia, and Persia. However, the Black Death's toll on Europe's manpower resulted in a resurgence of mass unemployment, particularly in the western, central, and southern parts of the continent. This phenomenon was due in part to an expanding population and changes in land availability for subsistence farming. Brought about by early enclosures with the looming threat of unemployment, acceptance of disruptive new technologies dwindled. Often, European authorities sided with segments of the workforce, such as guilds, outlawing innovation, and sometimes persecuting those advocating or dealing with such advancements. Great Britain's ruling class adopted a more liberal approach towards progress earlier than most continental nations, a factor that potentially contributed to its spearheading of the Industrial Revolution. However, angst over the effects of innovation on employment persisted through the 16th and early 17th centuries. An infamous instance of technological refusal occurred when Queen Elizabeth I declined to grant a patent for William Lee's labor saving knitting machine, fearing it would lead to unemployment within the textile sector after futile attempts to pioneer his invention in France and England. Lee was halted once more by Elizabeth's successor, James E., who shared the same concerns. However, following the Glorious Revolution, the authorities' empathy for workers fearing job loss due to innovation diminished. A prominent mercantilist viewpoint emerging at this time argued that labor-saving technology could actually decrease unemployment, enabling British companies to dominate against overseas competitors starting from the early 18th century. The labor force could no longer count on protection from government against the apparent threat of technological unemployment. Workers began resorting to direct measures, such as machine breaking, to thwart burgeoning innovation. Taking note of this evolution, Joseph Schumpeter underlined the growing frequency of warnings about technological unemployment from thinkers of the 18th century. Citing von Juste as an example, however, Schumpeter also pointed out that consensus among the elite settled on the position that technological unemployment wouldn't pose a long-term issue. Jean-Baptiste Say first addressed concerns around technological unemployment by suggesting machinery wouldn't reduce production, but simply shift workers to different sectors. Ramsay McCulloch formalized Say's views, gaining support from many political economists. This largely positive outlook was later challenged by Karl Marx's pessimistic perspective on technological unemployment. Despite gaining a large following, his views didn't significantly shift mainstream economics. By the late 19th century, increased prosperity across all British societal classes, including the working class, reduced fears around technological unemployment. As the classical school gave way to neoclassical economics, pessimistic views were systematically addressed and refuted. The issue of mass unemployment became less prominent in the early 20th century, although remaining a focal point for Marxists and outlier thinkers. It wasn't until the mid-1920s that technological unemployment became a key focus again. Driven largely by increased urban unemployment in the US and Europe, the primary debates of this period shifted from Britain to the United States, where increased joblessness, especially amongst rural workers due to advancements like the tractor, brought the issue to the fore. The most substantive debates around technological unemployment took place in the 1930s and 1960s, both marked by sudden increases in joblessness and both ending inclusively as war efforts. World War I and the Vietnam War, respectively, drove down unemployment rates during both periods. The debates largely revolved around the prevailing economic thought with little reference to past perspectives. Particularly in the 1930s, optimists relied on neoclassical beliefs in market self-correction to assuage fears around short-term job loss. The latter part of the 20th century witnessed heightened apprehensions over technological unemployment, primarily in Europe, yielding several prescient works such as James S. E. Albus's People's Capitalism, The Economics of the Robot Revolutions, and Jeremy Rifkin's The End of Works. Nonetheless, despite these concerns, economists and the public consistently held that technology would not trigger lasting unemployment. The dawn of the 21st century maintained this faith in technology, despite challenges posed by academic works like Marshall Brain's Robotic Nations and Martin Ford's The Lights in the Tunnel, Automation, Accelerating Technology, and the Economy of the Future. Noted scholars Andrew McAfee and Eric Brynjolfsson also expressed cautious optimism in their book Race Against the Machine, where they suggested that the aim should be to compete alongside, not against, machines. However, the year 2013 witnessed a surge in apprehensions about technological unemployment, catalyzed by studies projecting significant future increases, with global employment falling in certain sectors despite rising output. It became apparent that automation was a contributory factor as a result. Economic discussions began questioning the impact of innovation on jobs, grappling with falling employment in manufacturing, dwindling pay for low to medium-skilled workers, the advent of precarious platform mediated employment, and so-called jobless recoveries, the discourse began to shift. Even spheres previously considered immune to automation like care work, entertainment, and roles needing empathy started seeing robot replacements. Renowned economist and former Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers, weighing in on the debate in 2014, noted that automation might not always result in job creation, accentuating that this shift was not theoretical, but rather an emerging reality. In 2015, Martin Ford was awarded the Financial Times and McKinsey Business Book of the Year for his work, Rise of the Robots, Technology, and the Threat of a Jobless Future, emphasizing the potential threat of automation and artificial intelligence on the future of employment concurrently. The first Global Summit on Technological Unemployment took place in New York. High-ranking economists like Andy Haldane from the Bank of England and Ignazio Visco, the governor of the Bank of Italy, warned against a severe impending rise in tech-related unemployment. By 2016, the rise of artificial intelligence had escalated to the point where former U.S. President Barack Obama suggested society would soon debate the idea of providing unconditional free money for everyone. In 2019, an alarming outlook on the future was provided by Stuart J. Russell, a renowned computer scientist and artificial intelligence expert. He predicted a major shift in the economy, where the majority of existing jobs would be unnecessary, except potential increases in healthcare, home care, and construction sectors. However, economists remain divided on the prospect of long-term technological unemployment, with an almost even split seen in a 2014 Pew Research poll. While there is a widespread belief in the impact of automation on the job market, specific jobs held by individuals seem less susceptible in their perception. Various studies confirm the potential of automation to significantly reduce future job opportunities. Research emphasized that relatively low-paid physical occupations stand to bear the brunt, with an estimated 47% of us jobs at high risk. In a similar study by economic think tank Bruegel, it was projected that across the European Union's 28 member countries, 54% of jobs were under threat from automation. The countries determined safest from this threat were Sweden and the UK, with job vulnerability rated at 4,669 and 47 respectively. The future job market influenced by technology and automation remains a much debated topic. Research in 2016 by both the International Labor Organization and the United Nations highlighted the looming threats of automation to jobs within the electronics industry across Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. A high percentage of salaried positions in these regions were considered highly susceptible to mechanization. 74 in Thailand, 75 in Vietnam, 63 is in Indonesia, and 81 in the Philippines. Similarly, the United Nations warned that about 75% of jobs in the developing world were also at risk, particularly when outsourcing begins to decline due to more cost. Effective automation in industrialized countries. The U.S. Council of Economic Advisors, referencing study data from Frey and Osborne, predicted in the 2016 economic report of the president that automation threatened different classes of jobs based on earning brackets. Low-wage jobs under $20 an hour were most at risk with an 83% threat. Middle-wage jobs between $20 to $40 an hour had a 31% risk, whereas high-wage jobs above $40 an hour only faced a $40 an hour only faced a 4%. Canadian jobs were also under threat, according to a 2016 Ryerson University study, with 42% of jobs being at risk and categorized into high risk and low risk. This distinction was primarily based on income and education level required for the job, with high-risk jobs often requiring less education and considered lower income, yet holding a 70s chance of being automated in the next 10-20 years. In 2017, studies by PricewaterhouseCoopers and Ball State University further emphasized the global nature of this risk, showing high percentages of jobs at risk in the US, Germany, UK, Japan, and a staggering half of all jobs in the US. The McKinsey Company's report in September 2017 added that a sizable portion of labor in various areas, from apparel goods to aerospace and defense, was already automatable. The conclusion from a survey conducted in 2017 among information technology decision-makers in the US and UK was that an estimated 59% of business processes could be automated by 2022. Drawing from a study published by McKinsey Quarterly in 2015, it emphasizes that the influence of mechanization isn't about replacing employees, but automating components of their responsibilities. Another 2016 OS study went on to reveal that an average of only 9 of jobs across its 21 surveyed countries faced the threat of automation. Although this percentage significantly varied from one country to another, interestingly, this study incorporated elements like sex, education, age, and more into its evaluation, rather than solely focusing on job type. Although Forrester in 2017 anticipated that around 7 of us jobs may be lost due to automation by 2027, it also suggested that new job opportunities equivalent to 10 of the workforce might simultaneously emerge. Some research opines that the threat of job loss due to automation in the U.S. has been overstated, citing reasons such as diverse tasks within occupations and job adaptability. When these aspects were factored in, the occupations at risk due to automation dropped from 38 to 9. Meanwhile, a 2017 study based on Germany revealed no significant effect of automation on total employment, though it did impact the sector in which people were employed. Though automation did ultimately decrease labor's income share as it increased productivity but not salaries, manufacturing workers were unlikely to be displaced, and in fact potentially remained employed, albeit in different roles. A subsequent study by the Brookings Institution in 2018 found that while automation didn't decrease the total number of jobs, it did contribute to slowing wage growth since the 1970s by reducing the share of human labor. Donny Roderick's concept of premature deindustrialization, that is, the phenomenon of developing nations deindustrializing without first growing rich, as has happened with the advanced economies, is also addressed. This adds to the anxiety over technological unemployment, particularly in developing economies. However, with the right response strategies, the detrimental effects of further automation on these nations' workforce may be mitigated. Lastly, the narrative highlights renewed concerns since around 2017 over the possible impact of AI, artificial intelligence, on jobs. The main goal of AE development aims to enhance the quality of life for workers, not to replace them, with studies indicating AE's potential to create jobs rather than eradicating them entirely. Despite these, jobs generated often require less skilled labor for AI training, especially in developing nations. Various national and international governments have introduced AI strategies in response to President Putin's 2017 prediction that the first country to excel in AI will dominate globally. The fear of being left out in the AI technological race overshadows concerns over potential unemployment due to These strategies propose that leading in AI could provide citizens with more fulfilling jobs. For instance, Finland has endeavored to equip citizens from other EU nations with skills required to compete in the post-AI employment market. They've introduced a free The Elements of AI course, available in numerous European languages. Meanwhile, Oracle's CEO, Mark Hurd, predicted that AI would generate more jobs as humans will still be required to manage these AI systems. However, Martin Ford warns that automation could affect many routine and predictable jobs in the next few decades. He suggests that the upcoming jobs may not be attainable for people with average skills, even with retraining. Different digital technologies may cause a varying degree of job losses, with recent enhancements in robotics contributing to net employment growth, whereas many foresee potential job losses from automation and robot implementation, mainly in Central and Eastern Europe. Technology's impact on employment is debatable, but most concur that innovation can create temporary job losses. However, divergence exists regarding whether innovation could have a permanent negative effect on overall employment. The optimists suggest that innovation might lead to short-term job loss, but argue that compensatory effects will eventually balance out the initial job loss via job creation. This optimistic view, while frequently contested, has remained prevalent among mainstream economists throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. From the 1980s onwards, even economists with a positive outlook have increasingly acknowledged a rising trend of structural unemployment in developed countries. However, they mostly attribute this to globalization and offshoring, instead of technological advancement influences. However, others argue that persistent unemployment arises from the unwillingness of governments to implement expansionary policies, primarily after the shift from Keynesian practices in the 1970s and early 80s. In the 21st century, and particularly post-2013, the viewpoint that enduring global technological unemployment poses a growing threat is increasingly shared by pessimists. Jean-Baptiste Say in the 1820s outlined several compensation effects, essentially labor-friendly results of innovation, which offset job losses instigated by novel technology. These theories were later expanded into a comprehensive system by Ramsay McCulloch, only to face criticism from Karl Marx, who pointed out that none of the effects were guaranteed in turn. The effectiveness of compensation theory has been a central point of contention in academic debates on technological unemployment ever since. Potential compensation effects include job creation through constructing new machinery, profits driven by cost savings of new technology, fluctuations in wages due to unemployment, and cheaper prices leading to higher demand. The increase in workers' purchasing power due to cheap goods assisting wage cuts was also a factor. Furthermore, job creation due to innovation is considered. The new machines argument, though not widely discussed, mostly faces agreement that Marx successfully debunked it. Pessimists often acknowledge the possible positive employment impact of new products owing to product innovations. The distinction between processes and product innovations is noteworthy. Evidence from Latin America suggests product innovation contributing more towards firm-level employment growth than process innovation. However, a debate on the effectiveness of these compensation effects in offsetting job losses continues to be a key point of contention in contemporary economics, with conclusive resolution still pending. The concept of job multiplier also possibly serves as a supplement to compensation theory. Let's examine the evolution and impact of technology and mechanized machinery on labor demands and compensation throughout the ages. Starting with the Industrial Revolution, mechanization originally led to a surge in labor demand and increased wages due to the rise in productivity. Early machines, whilst reducing the need for physical power, were unintelligent and required considerable human interaction. Modern technology, such as computers, however, have drastically reduced the need not only for physical but also for cognitive human labor. Consequently, despite the continual increase in productivity, there might be a decrease in human labor demand, wages, and employment. This narrative poses a counter-argument to the Luddite fallacy, a term used to dismiss the worries over long-term technological unemployment as erroneous. Proponents of this view believe that technology will not affect long-term employment rates and will eventually boost all wages as it contributes to society's overall wealth. The term traces its origin back to the Luddites, a 19th-century English organization against textile machinery. However, recent leaning has edged towards the belief that automation benefits are not proportionately distributed. Fears of long-term difficulties would either be due to the perception of a finite work volume, referred to as the lump of labor fallacy by economists, or the concern that machines getting efficient at performing easy work, thereby reducing human involvement. The belief, endorsed by several advocates, postulates that the innovation effect on labor chiefly harms low-skilled workers while benefiting the skilled ones. This has been prevalent in the 20th century, perhaps in reversal of the 19th century scenario when skilled artisans were replaced by innovation tools, benefiting the unskilled. Current innovations might replace some unskilled work, but many low-skilled jobs remain automation resistant, while intermediate skilled white-collar jobs are frequently automated. Nonetheless, some recent findings suggest that innovation might be boosting the wages of highly skilled workers while adversely impacting the low to medium-skilled workforce. The narrative, thus, explores both sides of technological progression, its intended and unintended effects on the labor market. Oxford scholars Carl Benedict Frey and Michael A. Osborne have suggested that almost half the workforce could potentially be replaced by computerization. They found that higher levels of education and income reduce the risk of automation. Office and service professionals appear particularly susceptible in 2012. Sun Microsystems co-founder Vino Khosla predicted that up to 80 of medical practitioners could lose their jobs to automated diagnostic software in the next 2 decades. Natalia Kozlova's 2019 paper alerting to widespread job redundancy reinforces this view, claiming over 50 of Russian workers perform low-skilled tasks that are ripe for digital takeover. Only a small 13 hold a level of education that surpasses today or even tomorrow's intelligent computer systems. A significant amount of research has attempted to measure the impact of technological unemployment, with most studies supporting the primarily positive effect of technological innovations on employment. However, the positive effects seem restricted to medium to high-tech sectors. There is a forecast of increased unemployment due to technological advancements, with mixed results depending on the region and the type of innovation. Italian economist Marco Vivarelli reports that process innovation has had a more negative impact on Italy than the US, whilst the job Creation effect of product innovation is observed more in the US. Another study suggests that the employment impact of technological change is temporary rather than permanent. 4 main strategies have been used for quantitatively assessing technological innovation. The first approach, proposed by Jordi Galli in 1999 and developed by Neville Francis and Valerie A. Rame in 2005, uses long-run restrictions in a vector autoregression (VAR) to identify technological shocks based on the belief that only technology impacts long-run productivity. The second approach, from Susanto Basu, John Fernald, and Miles Kimball, creates a measure of cumulative technology change with augmented solo residuals, controlling for global, non-technological factors such as non-constant returns and imperfect competition. Michelle Alexopoulos formulated the fourth method that evaluates technological advancement by examining the number of new titles published in technology and computer science, finding a correlation with Reichen investment data. This index reveals the lag that occurs following technological variations historically. Due to the potential impact on employment, some innovations were prohibited. Contemporary economics rarely debates this option as a solution, particularly in developed economies where, despite concerns about long-lasting technological unemployment, innovation is largely viewed as beneficial. The singular exception was perhaps J.S. Mill, a renowned political economist who floated the idea of limiting technology use as a potential answer to unemployment. Gandhian economics advocated delaying the adoption of labor-saving devices until unemployment rates improved, a notion largely disregarded by Nehru, India's future Prime Minister post. Independence, however, this strategy of slowing innovation to curb technological unemployment was implemented in 20th century China under Mao's rule. In the 1870s, the typical American worker worked nearly 75 hours per week, a number that drastically reduced to about 42 hours just prior to World War I. This decline, according to Wassily Leontief, signified a conscious decision to increase technological unemployment, aiding in spreading work more evenly, and was welcomed by workers who traded fewer work hours for more leisure, especially as innovation improved wages. Economists like John R. Commons, Lord Keynes, and Luigi Passanetti proposed further reductions in working hours as a possible solution to unemployment. However, when working hours plummeted to around 40 hours per week, workers were hesitant to reduce further due to potential income losses and the inherent value of work itself subsequently. 20th century economists dissuaded further reductions, citing the lump of labor fallacy. In the modern era, Larry Page, Google's co-founder, suggested a 4-day workweek could be a solution in response to technology-driven job displacement. Typically, public works programs have been employed by governments to boost employment, a tactic not universally supported, least of all by conservatives, however. Jean-Baptiste Say, a free market economics exponent, suggested public works could be a solution to technological unemployment. Other contemporary commentators like Professor Matthew Forstater argue that public works and guaranteed public sector jobs could potentially solve technological unemployment by providing work social recognition and meaningful engagement. They note that for less developed economies, public work could be a less complex solution than comprehensive welfare programs. Increasing access to quality education and skills training for adults is a broadly supported solution to technological unemployment, despite differing political stances. Industry recognizes the value of government-funded education, with advocates promoting higher and specialized education as a means to leverage the growing technological sector. Distinguished Tech University MIT and the U.S. President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, PAST, have urged for an educational overhaul. They advocate for a shift from traditional learning towards STEM disciplines. The UK government's industrial strategy also promotes educational reform. It outlines plans to pour millions into a new technical education system, including a retraining initiative for those wanting to update their skills. Amidst fears of automation, these policies aim to address societal needs through modernized education, a movie lauded by many professionals. They highlight a disparity between economic security and formal education. Worsened by the increased demand for specialized skills, they believe education can help bridge this gap. Still, some academics contend that improved education alone will not resolve technological unemployment. They highlight a decline in demand for intermediate skills and question the capability of everyone mastering advanced skills. Kim Tai-Pale suggested that education cannot replace the dwindling middle class, while Paul Krugman, renowned economist, theorized that better education could even reduce demand for highly educated workers. Welfare programs and various subsidies are frequently proposed solutions to technological unemployment. They have shown resilience over time compared to other measures like job creation through public works. While recognizing the adjustments to new technology were not immediate, classical economists like Ramsay McCulloch believed in government support for those displaced by labor-saving technologies. In recent years, pilot schemes for basic income were initiated in Finland, the Netherlands, and Canada, and support for the concept has also been championed by tech entrepreneurs, particularly Y Combinator's president Sam Altman. However, it is important to note the diversity of viewpoints regarding basic income, ranging from the left to the right, with various proposed versions attracting support and criticism from diverse segments of the political spectrum. American President Richard Nixon's 1969 Family Assistance Plan bears striking resemblance with basic income, although it was defeated by the Senate. Critics of basic income often argue that it might disincentivize work. However, evidence from pilot schemes in India, Africa, and Canada suggests otherwise. Another significant hurdle for this concept is its sustainable funding. While new avenues for generating revenue, like Martin Ford's wage recapture tax, have been proposed, solving the funding issue remains contentious. However, the story of basic income doesn't stop at welfare concerns. Another model proposes offloading the cost and control to the private sector, requiring companies to employ humans and promote competition among individuals to secure and keep jobs. This market-based approach to income, though different from the government-backed job guarantee, aims to create sufficient jobs to alleviate massive unemployment. Hence, is not exclusive to top-tier professional. Another market-based proposal comes from the Center for Economic and Social Justice, CESJ, endorsing a just third way. Their alternative, the Capital Homestead Act, encourages widespread money creation and securities ownership among individuals, thus decentralizing power. All in all, the discourse around basic income proposes various innovative strategies to combat unemployment and deserves serious attention. The Zeitgeist movement, the Venus Project, and other individuals and organizations represent a growing call for the transition towards a post-scarcity economy. In this proposed system, traditional jobs as we know them would be transformed, seen as opportunities for automation or streamlined enhancement, rather than an unavoidably monotonous necessity. Certain undertakings, like commonplace advertising, could be dismissed entirely due to their lack of true societal benefit. The vision extends further to suggest the increased time outside of labor parameters will allow individuals to engage more with their creative pursuits, leading towards a resurgence of societal and community enrichment. However, the prospect of a jobless future has also prompted diverging responses from free market economists. While some see it as an opportunity to carry out supply-side reforms, making the employment process more flexible, others use it to justify increased employee protection. Economists like Larry Summers have recommended comprehensive cooperative efforts for addressing pervasive challenges like tax evasion and massive wealth accumulation without proportional societal contribution. Enforced anti-monopoly regulations, reduced protection for intellectual property, increased encouragement for profit sharing schemes, improved corporate governance, and a stronger financial regulatory system are among some of Summers' recommendations. He also emphasizes the necessity for increased investment in infrastructure as well as better skill training for young and displaced individuals. Michael Spence points out the importance of understanding the global implications brought about by the introduction of technology into the labor market. He believes that adapting to these changes will require shifts in mentality, policies, investments, and possibly the traditional models of employment and income distribution.